Hi guys, welcome. Dana here from the Magic Junk Drawer, and I'm back today with another live video to talk a little bit more about the law of attraction because I've been getting some questions about this stuff. And I always like to preface it with, I am not an expert, I'm still learning myself, but this is what I've learned. So Neville Goddard, if you have a chance to look him up, his techniques really are based on the imagination. So when you think about it, somebody needed to imagine, right, YouTube before they actually created it. Somebody was sitting somewhere saying, imagine this website where people, any random person, could put up a video and talk about things that they enjoy or teach us how to do cooking or whatever it is. Anybody could log on and put up a video. Somebody had to imagine this. Somebody had to imagine the iPhone before they actually made it. And there may have been many of trials and errors and things that didn't work, but they didn't give up and they kept trying. So the idea that your imagination creates everything is not really that hokey, because you really have to think about things, right? Somebody had to think about creating the airplane before they created the airplane. It didn't just show up. And somebody else told them that they were crazy and that it would never happen. So if you look at your imagination and you start to think about, like when you were a child, how you could imagine all kinds of things. Like I could give a child this, and it could be a magic wand, and it could be a special gem. It could be anything to a child because their imaginations are limitless because nobody has taught them better. Nobody has told them that's just a marker and all you'll ever be able to do is write with it, and that's only if it has enough ink in it. Okay, so there is a difference, and you can see it if you work with children. I have a nephew who's 9, I have another nephew who's 3, and when you talk to the two of them, the little one, he's willing to charge up his milk with his intentions. He believes it. Hi. My older nephew, right away, he's like, that's not true, that doesn't work. But the truth is that your imagination really does create everything. So if there is something in your life that is not going the right way, you may not be able to control the outside circumstances, but you can change the way you feel about it and the way you think about it. So here's an example. Somebody was telling me recently that they have an issue with somebody who they feel does not like them. Now, who hasn't been in that situation? You sense it when someone doesn't like you. I worked for a company for years, and the human resources woman, for whatever reason, didn't like me. It was so blatant that the entire company made a joke of it. Like, it was a running joke. Like, she would come into the office, ask everyone how the holidays were, but walk right past me as if I wasn't even there. And you know, it may be hurtful at times, but for the most part, you're just like, okay, she just doesn't like me, whatever, it is what it is. But knowing that she didn't like me, I kind of avoided her. I kind of avoided situations where I would have to talk to her because I felt uncomfortable. Had I thought about the situation differently and changed my idea of it, the situation could have been different. Like maybe if I would have thought or said to myself, she does like me, maybe she just saw a bad side of me, she does like me, not, and I'm not saying that you want to convince people, you know, you shouldn't have to do that, but sometimes people catch you on an off day, or they hear you say something, or for just whatever reason, this person just does not like you, and sometimes there is a resistance to it. So if you feel like this person is standing in your way of something, like say for example, I was going for a job and this woman, I knew she didn't like me and I didn't think I was going to get the higher position because I thought she was going to have influence. Well, what do you do about that? I can't make her like me and she's standing in the way of my career. Let's just use that hypothetically. If you start to change your thoughts about the situation, maybe the situation will change. So remember my friend, the one that was always late, right? She was always late. We had a lot of resistance to this. This is what I mean by that. We were, and I'm not kidding you, standing in this living room right here at 5:30, the time we were supposed to meet. The three of us were here waiting for her. She had the whole day off. She couldn't be here on time. She was coming from around the corner. I could walk to her house from here in 3 minutes. We were resistant. So our thoughts were, why is it that she can't ever be on time? How come these two came from across the bridge and she can't be here on time? Why is it she always has an excuse? Like, this is the conversation that the three of us were having. Right away, there was resistance. Nobody said, hey, wait, maybe she'll be the first one there this time. Hey, wait a minute, maybe she'll actually be on time. All three of us had it in our heads that she was going to be late and we were going to be waiting for her, and that's exactly what happened. So how do you change that resistance? It's not easy because this person has continued to show you over and over again that they don't like you, they're going to be late, they're unreliable, whatever it is that you think about, whoever it is in your life that is standing in your way or giving you a hard time, you have an idea about them. And you want to change that idea and just think of yourself. I always take it back to myself. I'm not the same person I was when I was in high school. I'm not the same person I was when I was in elementary school. So it's very possible that these people have changed. People's opinion changes, people's thoughts change, what people want out of life change, things change. The one thing that you can always count on is things changing. So if in your head you have it that so-and-so does not like me and they are standing in the way of whatever it is, then this will be an obstacle for you because you've convinced yourself of it. If you think to yourself, nobody has power over my life but me, I'm in control of my own destiny, and it's going to be on my terms the way I want it, you'll have more control. I know it's a lot easier said than done, and it's also a practice, but you start somewhere. Think about it. Things change. Things are constantly changing. Another example is, I lost my train of thought. Hang on, it'll come to me. People that, the resistance, changing the way you think about it. I lost my train of thought. It'll come back to me. Anyhow, so the idea is you can only be in control. Oh, this is what I was thinking. I read tarot cards, so I have a lot of people that contact me, and I have to tell you, more often than not, I have women contacting me, concerned about a third party, another woman, an ex, so-and-so, and I have to tell you that more often than not, eventually this third party shows up. So why does this happen? It happens because this is what they are focusing on. Now, I'm not saying that men don't do it, but I've seen that more often than not, a woman will contact me and say something like, my boyfriend Mike, he works with a woman Susie, what's going on there? Now, I've worked with a lot of men in my day. I mean, I've been in the workforce for a long time, and nothing's happened with about 99% of them. I think there was like one that I dated. No, two. There was two that I dated. So if you have this idea in your head and you keep looking for it, then somebody is going to show up. A third party will show up because it's all you focus on. If you focus on, this is what's mine, you focus on, nobody can take away from me what's mine. Divine timing exists. I can be in the right place at the right time, and I'm calling the shots. Rather than thinking that everybody else is calling the shots in your life. And I used to feel that way for a really long time. I felt like my life was just like a byproduct of everybody else's choices. But that's not true. It's not true. I believed it, and that's what would happen. Like, I would get the yoga class if nobody else could do it or nobody else wanted to do it. It wasn't that I was a choice, or that was at least how I felt. And, or not even just with yoga, but with everything. I would feel like, well, I'll get stuck doing it if nobody else can do it. Not that somebody chose me to do it, whatever it is. Or, they had to ask me, or they were obligated to include me. Whatever it is, I always felt like A&P went out of business, and that caused me to lose my job. It wasn't a decision that I made. My other job I was let go of probably, I think it was in 2012. And that was also a decision that they made. I couldn't make the decision. I wanted to. I mean, it was time for me to go. I was teaching yoga full time, and I was working at A&P. I had plenty on my plate, but I just couldn't make the decision to let go of that job, and the decision was then made for me. So I constantly felt like my life was just a byproduct of decisions that other people made, and that's what I always told myself, and that's what was always being reflected back to me. It took me a really long time to learn how to take control of things that I wanted and things that I wanted to do, and not care so much about what other people thought. Like, I would think to myself, oh, well, what are they going to think if they know that I'm doing this or I'm doing that? Who cares what other people think? Everyone's got an opinion. You know what they say about opinions? Everyone's got one, all right? So forget about other people and stop worrying about what somebody else's opinion is, because if somebody doesn't like you, or somebody doesn't feel like, like if you don't feel like you fit into the role, like I'll hear a lot of stories where people will tell me a whole story about what's gone on in their life. They'll send me an email, and then you can see the resistance in the email. But this person doesn't like me, and that person didn't like me, and this person, and then this was an issue. So then I always think to myself, okay, this is what this person is saying, but where do I put that resistance up for myself? Because we all reflect one another, and we're all teaching each other. That's why I love YouTube, because I can tell you all the channels that I watch, because you can learn something different from all of us. It could be the way somebody says something is different than the way that I say it, just like yoga. Guy says to me last week, he goes, I realized it. The key to everything in life, not even just yoga, is breathing. And I'm like, yeah, that's why we say it all the time. But the point is that he didn't always hear it. You don't always hear it. And he didn't grasp it. But one day it hit him in the face, and he realized, whatever it is, breathe. I mean, when you go to get, like when I went to have my nose pierced, right? Let's see it. I had to have it done twice. That's a long story. Anyway, what do they tell you when you go to get a piercing? Breathe. When you go to get a tattoo, breathe. Whenever something is going to happen, you're going to give blood, breathe. They always tell you to breathe, but yet we don't do it. We don't stop and think, okay, I just need to breathe. But then one day it smacks you in the face. And then you realize that everything you've been struggling with, if you just took a deep breath, it would be that much easier. Another thing I learned when I was in teacher training, this woman she'd been teaching a long time. And she was the teacher when I did the yin yoga training. And she said that one thing that she learned is if you just take a deep breath and sit back and don't react right away, you may feel differently about the situation. So somebody does something that, just really like your head wants to blow off. If you could just find a way to just sit and breathe for a minute before you tear their head off, you may find a better outcome to the situation. And that was really helpful. That's something that stuck with me from that training. But with the whole Neville Goddard thing, they have people that have put his channel up and on Instagram and stuff. I feel like it's a little bit hard listening to him, and he's not around anymore. Like, this goes back to, I think, the 1920s or the 1950s. I don't remember. But anyway, it's a little hard to understand him. I feel like if you watch Agnes Vivarelli, her channel, she kind of explains his theories a little easier. Like, I think that she's easier to understand when it comes to the Neville Goddard thing. It's like, basically, you want to focus on your goal like you already have it, but imagine it. Like, imagine that you had it. Imagine that you hit the lotto. How would that feel? What would the feeling in the pit of your stomach be if you were watching the TV and your numbers came out? Like, you have to just really tune into that feeling. Just for a minute, imagine what it'd be like to never have to worry about money again. Never have to worry about working for somebody again. Never having to worry about anything financially. Just having enough money. What would that feel like? That's the kind of state that you want to try to stay in. And you want to try to keep that relaxed sort of momentum. Whereas I know for myself, especially since I've suffered from anxiety for a lot of my life, it's hard for me to always stay relaxed because I'm kind of like, wound a little tight. I think that I've relaxed a little bit as I've gotten older, but it's still, a little bit difficult for me. So I understand it when people have a hard time with it, but imagining, so somebody doesn't like you, imagine in your head that they adore you. Imagine that. Imagine that there is no resistance to anything, that you could just walk out your front door and have anything that you want. You could have the car you want, the house you want, the job you want, the dog you want, everything you want. Just imagine what that would feel like. And the more you can channel that feeling, the more you put that out into the universe, the more it will be reflected back to you. Now, I'm telling you, I'm still working on this, so it's still hard for me, and I still have my moments. But that's why I always say comment below if you have an epiphany, if you have a story. I was doing the Law of Attraction parking space meditation in some of my classes last week or the week before, and I've gotten a couple of text messages from people telling me that the parking space one has worked for them. If it works for one person, it can work for you. Like, we're all the same. We're all made out of the same stuff. We've got blood, skin, hair, teeth. We're made out of the same stuff. If it works for one person, it can work for everyone. It's just a matter of focusing your mental activity on what you want and not what you don't want. So why is it that we spend so much time on what we don't want? It's because it's like a survival thing. It's like we're animals and we have instincts, and we are protecting ourselves from pain. We're protecting ourselves from things that are going to hurt us. And we're always being cautious of, and then you hear it growing up, be careful, don't run with scissors, tie your shoes, you're going to trip. So it's like we're programmed to always be looking for something that's going to take us out. So now you want to try to focus on the things that are going to support you, and it's hard to make the change. But you can change. You just have to focus, change your focus. I know, like, this stuff starts to get really complicated because the whole resistance thing, I think it's hard to let go of that resistance. Like, when you are programmed, like with my friend, that this person is always late, she's always going to be late, she is never on time, it's very hard to change the way you think about that person. And knowing that, it's really hard. Like, that's the resistance. It's like, here we go again. We're going to be waiting for her. Well, what are the chances she's going to be on time? Like, this is the song that's going on in my head. And then this is the song that we're talking, the story that we're telling each other. Well, do you believe it? I came across that bridge in rush hour traffic. This one can't come around the corner. This is what we talk about because this is what we've experienced. And this is what was proven to us every single time. She never once let us down. She was always late. So breaking down that story and that constant argument, it's the argument that you have in your head. Another thing that is tough when I'm speaking to people that are in the middle of like a breakup, or they're dealing with somebody that's not meeting their end of the bargain, there is a contradiction in their own feelings and their own thoughts. And I totally understand this. Like, on one hand, you want this person to do the right thing by you, but on the other hand, you're so mad at the person that you almost want to tell them to go fly a kite or something else. So making a commitment to how you really feel, and I'm not saying give people excuses to do whatever they want, but make a commitment to how you really feel and what you want out of the situation and focus on that rather than, like, I should have been focusing on this person always showing up on time. Oh, she'll be on time. Don't worry. Have faith in her. She'll be on time. She can change. Rather than adding to the circus of, how come I'm always waiting for her? Oh, she's an hour late. And then always with an excuse. There's always an excuse. Something always crazy always happened. Something fell in the toilet, something got stuck. There was always something. Meanwhile, we know that none of it was true. She was just late because that's who she was. But like everyone else, there are people that have overcome some crazy things. People that beat addictions, people that lose hundreds of pounds. People change. So get that into your head for yourself and for other people. If you think that somebody else can't change, or their idea of you can't change, or they're standing in your way of something, they're only standing in your way if you allow them to. If you don't allow them to, like somebody said to me, well, I think so-and-so's mother doesn't like me. Well, let me tell you something. There have been a lot of mothers that didn't like people, and it didn't stop them. So stop letting the mother be an obstacle for you, because it's only an obstacle if you allow it to be. And that's my lesson for the day. I hope that it helps. I know it's a practice, so try not to get frustrated. And let me tell you something. There's probably nobody in this world that gets more frustrated than me. But let me tell you other channels that you can check out. Agnes Vivarelli, if you want to know more about the Neville Goddard techniques, she really explains things really well. Veronica Isles, I was working with her through email. She's very helpful. Amanda from Create Your Future with Amanda, she's on YouTube. She's really good too about answering your comments. If you have a comment or a question in the video below, she'll get back to you. And she knows a lot about the way the brain functions, which is more than just like the power of positive thinking. Like she really, I have spoken to her on the phone, and she's very knowledgeable. I would suggest checking out her channel. I have a friend of mine who's a yoga teacher she just became a vegan a couple months back, and her videos they're pretty funny. And you can follow her story. She is Potty Mouth Yogi Denise. I think that's her name of her channel. You know what? I'll put all these channels in the description box so that you can check them out, because I think that they'll all be helpful. Who else do I watch? Oh, well, Jake Ducey. I love him. He's really good too. Aaron Doherty. I watch them all because you can pick up something from everybody. You can learn a little something from everybody. And to be supportive of other people, like I'm sending out my support, other people send me their support. Like we just keep supporting each other, because there's no, the more good that you put out, the more good you're gonna get. So keep watching YouTube, keep liking, sharing us, subscribing, share us with your friends, tweet us, whatever you want to do, and check out the other channels, because you never know. Somebody else may phrase something in a different way, and you may grasp it better from them than you do me. It's all right. Thank you for watching, and we will see you soon. Bye.